And also, American Ethanol, Missouri Corn Growers Association. They're back on board this year. They're going to do the same thing they did last year. On a one-day tournament, if you're using E10 fuel in your boat, we ask you that question. You're using that for a one-day tournament, $250 on top of your winnings, and two-day tournament, $500, again, $2,000 at the National Championship from American Ethanol and the Missouri Corn Growers Association. Something else that's brand new this year, we have a host hotel incentive. There is going to be no target weight this year, so we took out the target weight deal. But what we're going to do, and encourage all of you to stay in the host hotels, what's going to happen if you stay in a host hotel, you bring or send a copy of your receipt with your name on it, give that to Mike. You're down here, you give it to Mike, you have that, and you give it to Mike or send it to him. And for every night you stay, you're going to be entered into a drawing at the end of the year at the National Championship. One name's going to be drawn out, and you're going to win $500 cash. One name, who all stay at host hotels, for every night you get an entry fee. So if you stay 3 nights, you get your name in there 3 times. So $500 at the end of the year. So we're going to do that this year, so we're very excited about that. Now, some tournaments that are upcoming, you might want to plan on. Of course, the next one coming up after this one, we're going to take most of February off since the weather has been so good the last few years in February around the country. Exactly. February the 26th and 27th, Lake Darbone, the Louisiana State Championship. It's the very first Louisiana State Championship. Quite a fishery down there at Lake Darbone. Come down there and fish that one with us too. March the 4th and the 5th, the South Carolina State Championship will take place on Lake Greenwood. And also just down the road, one of those destination locations, March the 12th over at Washington Lake. And also Lee, Paradise, Ferguson, Whittington, Lake Fork. Back on the schedule for 2016. Very excited about that. That's a one-pole ultimate challenge on April the 19th. Another new location in 2016, Lake Eufaula in Oklahoma on April the 23rd. And of course, Grenada on March the 25th and March the 26th. So just kind of get your books out there with all the new rules and regulations. Take those, put them in get as many as you want, and put them in your boat, put them in your truck, and that way you have all that information. All right, with that, we are ready to get to some of the tournament information for you. And let me get my phone out here. For the official time, we're going to do the official time first thing. All right, the official time right now is 6:50. 6:50. There you go. 6:50 is your official time. Everybody got that? 6:50? All right, the weigh-in is going to be over at Edstone Park Boat Ramp. That's where we were last year. It's right down on 44 Highway, just right beside, basically, just on the other side of the highway from Shady Oaks, Big Shack, and also the restaurant and tavern. So that's where that's going to be. Fishing hours both days will be from 7 to 3:30. You must be in the weigh-in line by 4:30. So 7 to 3:30 both days, both tomorrow and on Saturday. You must be in the weigh-in line by 4:30. Fishable waters. We've kind of changed that a little bit this year. Pretty much the same, but we've added Lake Monroe this year. So it's everywhere from the Highway 40 bridge right there at Astor all the way down to and including Lake Monroe. So you can fish all that area from Lake Monroe back up to the Highway 40 bridge. So those are your fishable waters, and of course all those tributaries that connect and all that. So keep that in mind. Those are your fishable waters. Any questions on that? Not, that's pretty self-explanatory, but those are going to be the fishable waters. We do have, of course, you can use 8 poles. 8 poles, 2 baits per pole. When your boat is on plane, you have to have your life jacket on. You do have to do that. And it is a 9-inch length limit. The Crappie Master, that's Crappie Master's rule. It's a 9-inch length limit when it comes to the fish here. So keep that in mind. They must be alive. We'll talk about that too as we go through all the different rules. But 9-inch length limit, Crappie Master's rule, 8 poles, 2 baits per pole, and you must have that life jacket on when you have that boat on plane. With that, let's run through the rules here real quick for you. Keep in mind, you must abide by all state laws. You get a ticket, and you know the areas here, you've been fishing. There are manatee zones where there's speed limits. Please abide by those. If you get a ticket, you're going to get DQ'd because you broke a state law. So make sure you abide by it. And that goes for all across the country. Make sure you abide by all the state laws. If there are flotation devices, your life jacket rules, you have to abide by those. Know the state laws. Also, when it comes to big fish, of course, that's included now in the entry fee, as I mentioned earlier. 1 big fish entry per team. 1 big fish will be weighed in. Simple as that. Prizes. We had this last year. Hopefully we don't have this year. The prizes are going to be given away. The money, which will be cash, and the prizes given away after the tournament is over. make sure you stick around, because you may not have placed it in cash, you may not get a check, but you may get a prize that goes along with it. So make sure you do that. We had some leftovers last year, had a lot of helixes left over last year too, so make sure you stick around for the prizes. You do have to be here to pick that up. So if you do win a prize, you have to be present to get that. Mention the fishable waters, where those are, but also do want to mention this, we'll get into this too with sportsmanship. Now I want to stress this very, very strongly. Fishing within 50 feet of a marina gas pump or within 50 feet of a competitor's boat. We don't have a big problem with people when it comes to sportsmanship and that 50-foot rule. We're going to keep watching that because we have had some complaints from people throughout the years and stuff like that. It's real simple. It's a courteous thing to do. 50 feet. You know, you're talking 2.5 boat lengths generally. So make sure you're that distance between somebody. 50 feet, it makes it a lot easier. That way we don't have any issues, we don't have any problems, anything like that. So please, 50 feet distance between boats, and of course, especially if the boat's anchored and you can't fish right there if it's anchored, and they got the trolling motor must be in the up position, anchor rope visible, or any shallow water anchoring device like a power pole must be deployed to be considered anchored. But anyway, a safe and courteous distance of 50 feet should be maintained when trolling motors are in use. Simple as that. We're not going to go out there and police it. You guys can police yourselves, but please be courteous to all the other anglers out there when it happens. Now when it comes to compensation, keep in mind, no one can be hired, compensated, or offer compensation in any way to fish with you, marking fishing spots for you, or help you gain a competitive advantage in any way 30 days prior to the tournament. Plain and simple. Please keep that in mind. Also, I mentioned the poles, 8 poles, 2 baits per pole. Again, can't use the binoculars, cell phones, anything like that. You're going to be able to, underwater cameras not allowed during the tournament. Use of those mobile devices, you can't do that during tournament hours to talk, hey, you know, you on fish, where are you catching these? You can't do that. So please keep that in mind. That will come up in a polygraph. Likewise, during tournament hours, no one may spot fish for you or mark fishing spots for you. Simple as that. Mention the life jackets. Everybody here got a voucher tonight. When you come to the scales tomorrow and on Saturday, make sure you have your voucher. Have somebody designated about it, and it makes the weigh-in line go a whole lot smoother. Makes everything go quicker. So have somebody designated to have that voucher. Bring it with you when you come to the scale. The scale is going to be open 2 hours before the end of fishing. So the scales tomorrow and Saturday will be open at 1:30. 1:30 in the afternoon, both Friday and Saturday, the scales will be open. Do keep in mind, you can weigh in one time. You come in at 1:30, that's going to be the only time you weigh. Doesn't matter if you only have 3 fish, 4 fish, whatever the case may be. You can't go back out and fill out your creel. One time, you come in, but the scales will be open. You can bring in whatever you have then, weigh in one time. But they will be open at 1:30, and of course you have to be in the weigh-in line by 4:30. Fish must be brought to the weigh-in site in a cooler. No bags, nothing like that. They have to be brought into a cooler. They all have to be live. 7 fish, they must be 9 inches. There are no, not 8 3/4 of that. 9 inches plus. That's Crappie Master's rule. If you don't, you will be DQ'd. Simple as that. So they have to be. Now, and we've had this, and I do want to clarify that. If you would bring in, for instance, say, we've had people bring in 8 fish, something like that. You're DQ for that day. Doesn't mean you can't go back out and fish on Saturday. You're not DQ for the tournament, but you're DQ for that day. So please keep that in mind. Mention the weigh-in site. Got to be in the weigh-in line by 4:30, not 4:30 in 1 second, not 4:31. There will be somebody there at the end of the line, and we'll let you know the weigh-in line is closed. At that point in time, whoever's the last person in line, your voucher will be marked last to weigh. That person, nobody else can come in after that. So keep that in mind. Make sure you're on time to get there. And I know a lot of you are going to be traveling distances, so plan accordingly to be there on time. Mentioned the 9-inch length limit. Simple as that. And I kind of mentioned this earlier, but I just do want to kind of reiterate it real quick when it comes to the rules. When it comes to sportsmanship, again, we pride ourselves, we preach it, Crappie Masters family. So make sure that you exhibit, you display sportsmanship. Trust me, in a fishery like this, there are a lot of people out there that aren't fishing the Crappie Masters tournament that are out there watching you fish. They want to see what we do and how we act. So sportsmanship is a big key. I know there's big time money on the line, there's a lot of money on the line, but you know, let's exhibit sportsmanship. Same thing with conduct out there on the water. Please do that. If you have a protest or a complaint, you must file that 30 minutes after that tournament. It's got to be done within 30 minutes after the tournament's over. It has to be in writing. Can't be hearsay. It can't be, this guy said this guy said that, I saw this, I saw that. If you have a complaint, write it down on paper within 30 minutes after the weigh-in. You give it to Mike Valentine. It will be addressed at that point in time. Not the next day, not later that night, within 30 minutes after the tournament's over. If you have a complaint, if you have a protest, it has to be done in writing. Simple as that. Keep in mind, we also do reserve the right to do, and we did this down at Grenada too, to do live well checks. Don't do that very often. Simple as that, but we do have the right to do that if, you know, especially if somebody thinks it's going to be going out of, say, Pals, you know, wherever. You never know, they do a live well check. And last but not least, the top 3 places in Big Fish will be taking a polygraph. So when you finish in those, stick around after we hand out the awards. You will be taking a polygraph, and it makes it easier if everybody's right there after that. Well, we'll be doing this with a 2-day tournament. It's going to be like we've done in the past with the 2-day tournaments. After tomorrow, the top 10 will be called up front, and they will weigh last when it comes to Saturday. On Championship Saturday, we'll have the hot seat out there. And of course, at the end of the day, who has the top 2-day weight gets to be the 2016 Florida State Champion. So, simple as that. Any questions, anyone?